On behalf of the Wisconsin Institute for Public Policy and Service, we welcome you to the University of Wisconsin Marathon County for tonight's forum, Shamanism and Cultural Identity. I'd like to thank you in particular for braving the elements to be here. If you find your car snowed in, let us know. We'll have to break out the shovel brigade. My name is Eric Giordano, and I am an assistant professor of political science here on campus and the director of the Wisconsin Institute. This forum was made possible by a generous contribution from the Wisconsin Humanities Council and other donors. Tonight's forum would not be possible without the hard work of our program associate Jean Greenwood, University Public Relations Director Judy Witkoff, our theater technician Chris Berg, and our incredible Wisconsin Institute intern Debbie Warren. We would also like to thank Jim Lee and Vang He for helping to arrange the visits of two of our guests, and a special thanks to Ying Zhang from Urgent Translation for her presence and services tonight. The panel presentation will be followed by an audience question and answer session. You'll be free to ask questions directed at one or all of our panelists. UWMC ambassadors will circle the theater with microphones. We'd like to ask you to limit your comments to one question per person at a time. And we discourage grandstanding. We ask that you accord our guests and each other the courtesy and respect that we all expect from a public forum dedicated to civil dialogue. At the conclusion of the panel, we would ask each of you to turn in an evaluation sheet. We collect these sheets to receive feedback to learn how we can better serve you. At this time, we'd like to ask you to check that your cell phones and pagers are turned off. Our forum will end promptly at 9 o'clock. After the forum, we will have a short reception with some cookies and drinks in the terrace room. As you exit the theater, turn right, and the terrace room is straight ahead. It's now my pleasure to introduce the panel moderator, Associate Professor Jim Veninga. Jim Veninga is an Associate Professor of Religious Studies at UW Marathon County. From 2000 to 2007, as I'm sure most of you know, he served as Campus Executive Officer and Dean. Dr. Veninga has taught at a number of institutions, including the University of St. Thomas in Houston, the University of Texas at Austin, and Baylor University. He holds a BA degree from Baylor, a Master's in Theological Science degree from Harvard Divinity School, and a Master of Arts and PhD degrees from Rice University in Religious Studies and History. He has authored articles on religion, education, the humanities, and the public role of scholars. He is an author and editor of a number of books, including most recently Standing with the Public, The Humanities and Democratic Practice, and The Humanities and the Civic Imagination, Collected Addresses and Essays. At UWMC, Dr. Veninga teaches Introduction to the Study of Religion, Religious and Cultural Conflict, and beginning next fall, The Philosophy of Christian Thought. We welcome our moderator, Jim Veninga.
Thank you very much, Eric. And let me, too, thank Eric and Jean Greenwood for their really terrific work in helping launch the Wisconsin Institute for Public Policy and Service. And let me also thank Campus Dean Sandra Smith, who is here, I think I said right there, whose support for the Institute and support for the new proposed facility was well known to all of us even before she assumed her position on July 1. And Sandy, we thank you for your articulate support for the Institute and its work. Eric mentioned his appreciation for donors, and I also want to thank the Wisconsin Humanities Council, which is a state affiliate of the National Endowment for the Humanities. This organization uses federal and state and private dollars to support public programs that engage the people of Wisconsin in the exploration of human cultures, ideas, and values. And it is one of the most efficient organizations that I've ever seen, and it does marvelous work in small communities and large cities throughout the state. and I think all of us should be very grateful that there is indeed a Wisconsin Humanities Council. We have a wonderful panel this evening whose members will, for the first 45 minutes or so, help enlighten us about shamanism and its contemporary expressions, including those here in Wausau. But I would like first, for just a few minutes, to provide something of a framework for this discussion. Last year, a new academic program was added to the UW colleges, Religious Studies, housed in the Department of Philosophy. And a number of faculty members in psychology and in philosophy and anthropology, in addition to myself, have taught or are now teaching courses that are cross-listed in the Religious Studies program. During the latter half of the 20th century, the academic study of religion emerged as a very important discipline, contributing to both undergraduate and graduate programs at many universities across the country. And indeed, recent world events have underscored the importance of understanding the connections between religion and culture. Tonight, we are focusing on an important expression of religious thought and practice, that of shamanism. Hinduism, Buddhism, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and Confucianism are often referred to as historical religions. Such religions have sacred texts and traditions that build and develop over time. These religions blanket the earth, but as historian and philosopher Huston Smith points out, chronologically, they form only the tip of the religious iceberg, for they span less than 4,000 years as compared with the 3 million years or so of the religions that preceded them. Huston Smith notes that this religion is often referred to as primal because it came first. It also is referred to as tribal because its groupings were invariably small, and oral because writing was at that early time unknown to them. And these first religions are often said to be the religion of traditional peoples. This mode of spirituality continues today around the world in parts of Africa, Australia, Central and Southeast Asia, the Pacific Islands, Siberia, and among many Indians of North and South America. In the field of religious studies, no one has contributed more to the understanding of traditional religion than the scholar Mircea Eliade. Born in Europe, Romania, in 1907, Eliade, after studying in India and after achieving success as a university professor in Europe, came to the United States to teach at the University of Chicago in 1962. He is credited with founding what he called the field of the history of religion, better known today as the comparative study of religion. And he argued that religious experience, the phenomenon of religion, must be grasped at its own level. One can't understand the essence of religious phenomenon solely by means of psychology or sociology, economics, or even anthropology, or indeed any other discipline. He writes, "The sacred is equivalent to a power, and in the last analysis to reality. The sacred is saturated with being. Sacred power means reality. Thus, it is easy to understand that the religious person deeply desires to participate in reality, to be saturated with that power. The person who possesses enormous expertise in this spiritual realm in traditional religion is the shaman." And Eliade argued that shamans have, for thousands of years, played an absolutely essential role in the defense of what he called the psychic integrity of the community, or what we might simply call the psychological health of the community. It's now my pleasure to introduce our outstanding panelists. Let me ask you to hold your applause until I introduce all of them, and I will introduce them in the order in which they will be speaking to us this evening. Ron Lippe has had a very distinguished career here, coming to the university in 1989. He is professor of anthropology, but he started out his undergraduate career majoring in aerospace engineering. Then he got the light and turned to anthropology and has a PhD in anthropology from the University of Minnesota. Dr. Lippe's interests focus on South American archaeology. He's been involved in numerous projects in Ecuador since 1975. He's been a Fulbright Scholar twice and has published numerous articles and 3 books, and his latest book has won a number of very important awards. Dr. Lippy is chair of the UW College's Department of Sociology and Anthropology, and here at UWMC, among other courses, he teaches a course in the anthropology of religion, which will be offered again this spring. Students in the audience, this is your chance to take an absolutely outstanding course from Dr. Lippy. Dr. Gary Lee, our second speaker this evening, was born in Laos in 1949. In 1965, he went to Australia to study, where he received a bachelor's degree in social work in 1972, a master's degree in 1975, and a PhD degree in social anthropology in 1981. He's taught at a number of Australian universities and has worked consistently over the years with Indo-Chinese refugees. He is currently a scholar in residence at the Hmong Studies Center at Concordia University in St. Paul, where he also serves as a visiting professor. He has done extensive research on the Hmong. He's a very popular speaker, we learned this evening, around the country, and has published articles and books as well as fiction, a novel, related to his research. Huaji Lee started practicing the Hmong culture in 1972. As a shaman, he participates in Hmong wedding and funeral ceremonies. In the wedding ceremony, Mr. Lee represents the bride or the groom, and in the funeral ceremony, he is the facilitator and organizer of that ceremony. Both the wedding and funeral ceremonies are very important parts of Hmong culture. In addition, as a shaman, Mr. Lee is able to heal the sick by traveling to the spirit world, and through that power, able to heal the spirit of those who are sick. In addition to being a shaman, Mr. Lee also is able to speak magic words to mend broken bones and heal deep cuts. He has many other responsibilities in the Hmong community. He's currently leader of the Lee clan and also the president of the Hmong 18 clan organization. And with these 2 responsibilities, he serves as a judge or official in resolving family and clan disputes that might arise. I should also tell you that he's the father of someone many of us know, the immediate past director of the Multicultural Resource Center here at UWMC, and currently a student at Stevens Point, Jim Lee. And I also want to welcome Yings Lee, sister of Jim and daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Lee, who will provide translation this evening. We thank you very much, Ying, for doing that. I should mention that she works with an organization called Urgent Translation, which is involved in various endeavors around the country. So please give a round of applause to our panelists, and we welcome them. Thank you so much for your attendance this evening. We will begin with Ron with the presentations, and then after about 45 minutes or so, we will open this up for conversation. Thank you.
Only because I'm showing a few slides, I'm going up to the lectern because I can't see the slides and you at the same time. Thanks to all of you for turning out on this evening. I'm going to speak very, very briefly about Hmong religion and how shamanism fits into it. I want to speak in more depth about shamanism in general throughout the world. I'll leave most of the discussion of the Hmong particulars of shamanism to our experts here. I'm certainly not one of them, but I can speak about shamanism around the world. And then I'm going to finish up very briefly with the results of a survey I recently conducted just in the past few weeks with a large number of Hmong students that are on campus here regarding their religious beliefs and practices. So, first of all, I just want to make it clear, and I invite our guest speakers to correct me when their turns come if I misspeak or portray anything incorrectly. But I just wanted to make a simple distinction between Hmong religion and shamanism. They are not synonymous. Hmong shamanism in any culture is certainly integrated into the religious network, but it's not synonymous with the religion of that culture. It is, in most cases, an element of the religion of that culture. So we should make this distinction. There are, in fact, many Hmong beliefs and practices that do not involve shamanism. Hmong religion is decidedly animistic. Animistic is a term that we often hear. Anthropologists have defined it for about 150 years, which is as long as anthropology has existed, as a belief in spirits. Spirits are disembodied entities. And it turns out that practically every religion on earth, and there are thousands of them, are to one degree or another animistic. Hmong religion is certainly very animistic, with belief in a large variety of spirits. Just to give you some idea, there is a belief in gods or lords of the sky and the underworld. There are household spirits. There are souls that transmigrate or reincarnate. Hmong religion involves also ancestor worship. And there's a belief that every Hmong person, every person in fact, has at least 3 souls. Many would argue that there may be as many as 20 or 30 souls within every person. The 3 principal ones seem to be occupied primarily in the head, the leg, and the torso. And it's important to keep these various souls in balance. The Hmong believe that souls or spirits are found in animals and, in fact, in natural features on the landscape, in mountains and rivers and trees and so forth. The Hmong cosmology also distinguishes between a physical world and an unseen world, a light world and a dark world. This unseen world contains spirits and lost souls and deceased ancestors and so forth. And those that are in the unseen world can see into the physical world, but the reverse is not true. We are unable to see into the unseen world except for the shaman, who has the ability to go back and forth. So with that introduction, I hope I didn't make any serious errors yet. Let me talk about shamanism in general around the world. Shamans are defined simply as ritual specialists, but they are not ordinary people. They are people who are believed to have special abilities to journey into what we often refer to in our own Western civilization as the supernatural realm. This is an ability which is not available to most people, but is available and is developed by shamans. The word shaman itself is problematic. It originally comes from the Tungus peoples of central Siberia. And shamanism is particularly alive and well and has a very, very long, colorful tradition in central Siberia. Back in the late 1800s, anthropologists, as they learned about central Siberian shamanism, started to apply the term to similar practices in other parts of the world. And most anthropologists have gone along with this, and other students of religious endeavors, but in fact there are some, including a good friend of mine in Milwaukee, who thinks that this is an outrageous abuse of the word shamanism, that shamanism really properly should only refer to certain cultural practices in central Siberia. But that's a minority view, and I think for practical purposes we need some sort of term to refer to these similarities found among these ritual specialists all around the world. And in fact, there are some remarkable similarities. And I'll talk about some of these in a moment. By my own way of thinking, I believe that the easiest explanation for these similarities among various cultures which have not had contact with each other in recorded history, these similarities probably are due to the very ancient nature of shamanism itself, that much of what we know of as shamanism today has its origins probably tens of thousands of years ago, before most recent human migrations to different parts of the world. At any rate, exactly what are some of these similarities that is found among shamans around the world? One of them is that not anybody can become a shaman. This is a calling. Shamanism often tends to run in families, but that's because it's believed that the abilities are passed down genetically. In many instances, a shaman will have some life-changing event which will call him or her to become an apprentice to a shaman and then eventually to take on the role of shaman. Worldwide, shamanism is only for certain people, that it is in fact a calling. And it is only shamans that can travel back and forth between the supernatural realm and the physical world. Shamans typically do this by entering an altered state of consciousness, a trance of some sort. There are a variety of ways to do this. It's often done with the aid of hallucinogenic drugs. It can be done through self-hypnosis, through chanting, beating gongs or drums and so forth endlessly. There are various ways to enter this altered state. But once in the altered state, it is believed that the shaman is ready to come face to face with the spirit world. Another characteristic of shamanism, which is nearly worldwide, is that they tend to, their principal function, although certainly not their only function, is to heal people who are ill, to cure disease. And underlying this ability is a shared belief throughout the world that most diseases are caused by some sort of malfunction with regard to the spirit, the soul, and so forth. And typically, people get ill because of soul loss, that is, one or more spirits in their body have left them. They may become ill because of spirit possession, that is, because some evil spirit has entered their body and taken over control. Or perhaps there has been some sort of a foreign object which has intruded on the body, inside the body. And in any case, anywhere in the world, the shaman will diagnose the reason for the illness. Sometimes it may have a very practical reason which has nothing to do with the spirit world, but as often as not, it will have a spiritual explanation. And so the shaman, like any doctor, first makes the diagnosis and then attempts to treat the illness by retrieving the lost spirit or by exorcising the spirit that's in possession of the body and so forth. In the case of a bodily, of an object that has intruded in the body, typical process is for the shaman to suck that object out through the person's skin or through an orifice to remove it from the body. Shamans in many cultures have many other abilities that we would call psychic abilities. They may be called upon to find lost objects or lost people, to engage in divination, that is, forecasting the future based on various techniques. They may be used as mediums to contact dead relatives and so forth. But in almost all cases, shamans are primarily trained and skilled at healing ill people. It has been noted by anthropologists and others that shamans occasionally engage in sleight of hand, prestidigitation, that is, they have something hidden up their sleeves. Certainly not true in all cultures, but in some this has been documented. And when shamans are confronted with the evidence, their explanation is usually a very practical one, which is that they are working in a realm which is unseen to us. And in order for us to understand the nature of their work, they feel an obligation to give us some sort of physical evidence, even if it's concocted. But it really has nothing to do with what they're actually doing. What they're actually doing is in a realm that is invisible to most of us. So even the sleight of hand can be brushed off as a mere convenience for the benefit of the spectators. And in fact, shamanic rituals are often public events and spectacles. Not always. Shamans are typically part-time specialists. That is, most of the time they go about other kinds of labor, and they have other functions in their community, but they are called upon for these special healing and other rituals. Let me make one more point about shamanism in general. If this sounds all rather exotic and something that seems extremely foreign to mainstream American culture, I don't believe that is the case. There are shamanic traditions within Christianity, both ancient and modern. Certainly exorcisms and faith healing, which seem to be on the rise, if anything, today in recent decades, are elements of shamanic practices that would be recognized anywhere else as shamanism. And in fact, it has been observed by many people around the world who are not themselves practicing Christians that Jesus appears to have been himself a shaman of sorts with the miracles that he performed. Okay, well, as I said, I'm not going to speak specifically about Hmong shamanism. I'll leave that to our guest speakers. I've just tried to lay some sort of a universal background here. In fact, from what I know about Hmong shamanism, it does conform to a high degree to these general characteristics. What I would like to do, however, is jump ahead, I hope. I have some slides here quickly, just a few pictures. I guess I could have put up earlier. I said that I conducted in recent weeks a survey of Hmong students on campus to get an idea of their religious beliefs and practices. Part of the goal of this forum is to look at cultural identity. And cultural identity for the Hmong Americans is changing, and to a large degree this change is taking place in the field of religion. We have currently 128 Hmong students on campus. We're very happy we have such a large number. We hope to have even larger numbers in the future. I got cooperation from a lot of the students. About a third of them, or nearly 40% of them, filled out a simple questionnaire that I prepared. And so I have about a 40% sample of our students that provided me with some basic data. I haven't done any sophisticated analyses of this. It is possible that the data are somewhat biased. I know, for example, that some of the clans in town are more traditionally Hmong, their religious beliefs and practices are more traditional than other clans, and I don't know how well each clan is represented on campus. And it's also possible that those young Hmong people who are in the university are not representative of the Hmong population in general, of their age group. At any rate, here's some interesting things. First, I asked students about the religious affiliation or religious beliefs and practices of their parents, and this summarizes it. You can see that approximately 50% consider themselves to be traditional Hmong, or at least they're considered by their children to be traditional Hmong. About 36%, a little over a third, are Christian. 11%, about 1 out of 10, say that their parents mix certain Christian beliefs and practices with certain Hmong beliefs and practices. The other categories are fairly minor. We'll just ignore those for now. But that's the parents' generation. Most of our Hmong students, in fact, here are between 18 and 25 years of age. Some are up to about 30, 35 years. But mostly they're 18 to 25 years old. Here we have another pie chart for the students themselves. And you can see now that the traditional has dropped from almost half to less than a third. Those who are Christian, identify themselves as Christian, is now at 1/3, which is about what it was before. And those that mix Hmong and Christian beliefs and practices are about 22%. So there has been a change away from traditional Hmong towards the mixing of the two religious traditions. And then finally, I asked them, how about your children when you have children, or if you have children now, how do you expect to raise them in terms of religion? And of course, this is predictive. We don't know exactly how this is going to work out, but we've got now traditional Hmong in this next generation, only about 13%, Christians still around a third, and Hmong Christian mix now about 1 out of 4. And the others who are uncertain or didn't know quite what they're going to do with their children is a larger category there. But I think it's interesting, these three different pie charts show that the percentage of Hmong in this small sample that profess to be Christians or identify themselves as Christians appears to be staying steady through 3 generations, which surprised me. Those who are traditionally Hmong in their religious beliefs and practices is clearly declining, but those who are intending or are currently mixing Hmong and traditional beliefs is increasing. Okay, let me go through a couple others quickly. I asked those who are Christian what church they were affiliated with, and I was also surprised at this. As many of you know, Lutheran churches in town and Catholic churches played a very big role in bringing the first Hmong refugees to Wausau. But apparently, neither of those groups were very active, or at least not very successful, in proselytizing, because only 3% of my sample belong to a Lutheran church and 3% Roman Catholic, and 44%, whoops, wrong button, sorry about that. See if I can go back. 44% belong to the Hmong Missionary Alliance Church, which is an evangelical church. May be aware it's located out in the town of Stettin. There are actually two churches in town that are affiliated with this. There is a Wausau Alliance Church out east of town on Franklin Street. As far as I know, that is an all-white church, and the one on the west side of town in Stettin is an all-Hmong church, but they have the same evangelical affiliation. Also interesting, no church affiliation among our students. 50% have no affiliation at all or do not regularly attend any church. Almost done here. Let me go through one more. I asked them how many of the students had attended a shamanic ritual in the last 5 years, and about 2 out of 3 have. Sorry, I keep hitting the wrong button. Very confusing technology for me here. 29% had not, and a few could not remember, weren't sure. But at any rate, I tried a number of correlations. What is the correlation between the number of years that they've lived in the United States, whether they were born here or migrated here, and their religious beliefs? I couldn't find any obvious patterns. Is there a correlation between the language that they speak at home and whether or not they've attended a shamanic ritual? And I couldn't find any correlations. I did lots of correlation checking, looking for patterns in the data. Perhaps my data set is just too small. I hope to do a more detailed study in the future. But at any rate, there are no obvious patterns. I suspect that a lot of the Hmong, even those who identify themselves as Christian, are attending shamanic rituals as a family or clan obligation. For social reasons primarily. One more. Oh, just a picture. I just wanted to sum things up a little bit very quickly. This survey is suggestive of a few things. It gives me some lines of research that I hope to follow in the future in some more detail. But I guess what was most surprising to me, I really expected that the number of conversions to Christianity would be increasing dramatically each generation. And from my small sample, that does not appear to be the case. So this basically provides me with a few what we call in social sciences working hypotheses to test in the future. At any rate, there are a couple of other questions that arise. I'll just mention one right now since I think I'm running over my time limit. Shamanism is a real hot topic around the world today, and if you get on the internet and start looking up shamanism sites, I would say the vast majority of them have nothing to do with any kind of traditional shamanism of any culture. These are charlatans, these are wannabes, people who have romanticized shamanism and are trying to imitate what they think they know about shamanism. And this romanticization of certain religious traditions has affected Native Americans for a long time. And I suspect that this is also going to be true of the Hmong in the future. That shamanism, because it is such a popular topic and everybody, it seems, wants to be a shaman or wants to know somebody who is a shaman, that Hmong shamanism also stands, will probably have to face up in the near future to people, wannabes trying to sort of co-opt this ancient religious tradition for their own purposes. And it'll be interesting to see how the Hmong community responds to that. I had a couple other comments, but I think my time is up, so I'll cede the floor to our next speaker.
Yes, thank you very much for inviting me here all the way from St. Paul, and I'd like to thank her Van in particular who come and provide me with transport today, and also the Wisconsin Institute and Dr. Jean Greenwood and Professor Jim Wedenga and also Professor Ron Lippy for giving me this opportunity to share whatever little I know about shamanism. I don't pretend to be an expert because I'm not a shaman, but my father is. And also having experienced the use of shamanism in my family and Hmong culture for many years, I just share some insights into what I understand of the practice. I'd like to firstly say that what Professor Ron Levy elaborate about the characteristics of shamanism is just spot on for the Hmong as well. So I'm not going to repeat the characteristics of Hmong shamanism, and maybe later on my cousin here, who is a shaman, can also elaborate further on the characteristics of what he practices. Hmong shamanism is predicated or depends on the belief in spirits, ancestors, and the existence of the soul. So in other words, shamanism in Hmong only works for Hmong who believe in animism. It doesn't work if you don't believe in this system of religion. Animism for the Hmong consists of three elements, and as Professor Levy said before, and I just said a minute ago, animism for the Hmong consists of belief in the existence of spirits, spirits which are also divided into two kinds. One is what we call the tamed spirits or family spirits. In other words, spirits are good to the family, to the person, are protective of family members. And these are the spirits of the door, the spirit of the central post, the spirit of the central platform of the house, and the spirits of the ancestors. And the ancestors are there to protect as well as to for us to make offering, to provide sacrifices to, in order for them not to make us sick, in order for them not to go hungry in the spirit world. And for that reason, every now and then they might make us sick in order to convey to us their need for food and need for offering. And this need is often diagnosed or made now known to us by the shaman. Also, as Professor Levy said, the Hmong believe in the existence of the soul, and the soul also play a big part in the activities of the shaman. So, again, I want to emphasize that shamanism is not a religion. Shamanism is an expression of animism. It's a practice, a healing practice in animism. So the shaman is a person who is called upon by shamanic spirits to mediate, to act as negotiator, as mediator between the world of the living and the world of the spirits. And as Professor Levy said, it is a calling. You can not just learn to be a shaman because you want to. You have to be called upon by becoming sick and being diagnosed as being called on by shamanic spirits to become a shaman. So one of the things that the shaman use a lot is the exchange of the souls of animals for the soul of a sick person. And for that reason, we need to use animals such as chicken and pigs, so that we can get the spirits of the animals to exchange for the soul that might have been separated from the body, or that might have been taken away by an evil spirit. And when I said earlier about spirits, there is this other class of spirits that we call wild spirits or evil spirits that exist in nature, whether it's in a river, in a tree, or in a rock, or other prominent places around the village or wherever the monk may be living. So these evil spirits are said to be the one that cause most of the sickness that involve the loss of the soul, and that call for the intervention of the shaman. So one way in which you can get the lost soul back is by having the soul of the animal that you sacrifice, such as the chicken or the pig, and having asked for the permission of this particular animal when you, before you kill it, you use its soul to exchange for the human soul that the evil spirit has taken away, has separated from the person's body. And this is only the shaman can do this. Only the shaman can mediate, can act as a negotiator or go between to bring back the soul of this sick person. There are many sicknesses that the shaman cannot cure, and the shaman is not a cure-all person. My father, for example, in Australia, has been requested by many people to cure all kinds of sickness that they might have, including factory accidents and people who might become paraplegic from injuries and so on. But he would say something that has a wound, something that is physical, he say he is not in his area, is not in the domain of a shaman. A shaman only cures sickness that has no physical visibility. In other words, something that make you sick chronically, and that you cannot find a physical cause to it. And therefore, they might try to find a spiritual cause. But it doesn't mean that anything that has no physical cause will have a spiritual cause. Only certain types of sickness will have a spiritual cause. And the shaman will be able to, or not able to, identify that cause. So a shaman is not someone who can do everything for everyone, and they know they have their limitation. But I just want to say that we have seen the pie charts, we have seen the change in belief and practice, religious practice of the monk in America here. And it's not only the monk in America, but also the monk back in your old homeland in Laos that are changing their beliefs because of modernity, because of exposure to other religions and other ideas. So this is not a phenomenon that is particular or peculiar to the monk in America or in Western countries. So I'm very hopeful that shamanism will continue so long as we have a group of people who believe in animism, who believe in the existence of spirits, and who revere or make offering to their ancestors as a way to protect themselves, as a way to bring to ensure fortune to the family, and so long as there are people who believe in the existence of the soul. And another thing I would say is that shamanism will continue in America and elsewhere so long as modern medicine cannot cure all diseases. People will resort to all kinds of spiritual cure, whether it works or not. And some shaman will be happy to oblige, whether they're genuine or not. As Professor Ron Libby just pointed out, that there are charlatans in shamanism, just as charlatans in modern medicine. But I think that the genuine shamans will continue to exist and will continue to try to cure all kinds of sicknesses in modern society, such as in America here. It is something that supplements modern health care, is not a substitute. So people who resort to alternative medicine, alternative health care, will always resort to the use of shamanism. And for that reason, shamanism will continue to exist. It doesn't matter whether all our young Hmong people become Christian or don't believe in shamanism or in animism anymore in the future. There will be other people, and also many Hmong will continue to believe in the positive aspects of shamanism. One thing that is very, very important for us to reflect on about shamanism is not its curing and healing power or value. I used to be a Christian. I used to try all kinds of religions. But after I studied anthropology and I really tried to study the Hmong culture and the Hmong religion in depth, I changed back to believing in animism. It's not because I believe in the existence of spirit and the existence of the soul. It is because animism and true shamanism, the Hmong religion and the Hmong practice of shamanism, it's a way to bond the community together. It's not just a healing practice. So long as we have shamanism, we will stay together as a family, as a group, as a community. Because every time we have a shamanic trance or session in the family, particularly when it involves the sacrifice of an animal, no matter how little that animal is, we always call all the family members outside that particular nuclear family to come and take part, to help in the activities for the day, and especially to eat together. This is very, very important for us, very important for the bonding, very important for the empowerment. And we should not give up shamanism for this reason. Otherwise, we're going to be left on our own, individually. We're going to be cut off from the community. And it is the same like in the church, the same like worshiping with other religions. Shamanism brings people together to share each other in terms of helping, contributing labor, and also, it's more importantly, bring people together to confirm and reconfirm their identity as member of a particular family, as member of a particular community. And the shaman does this in the curing or healing ceremony by putting a rope around all the members of a family that has a sick person. So the focus is not just on the sick person, but it's on the whole family that will support the sick person to heal. So it has a very powerful psychological value and or power, very, very strong psychological power. And the shaman never just focus on the sick person. The shaman always focus on the family, the ancestors of the family, and the soul of the sick person, and in particular, all the members of the extended family of that, members of that particular community. So we have to appreciate this aspect of shamanism, and don't just look at it as a healing practice. It is that too, but more importantly, it is a tool, a way in which we reinforce our identity, we reinforce each other, we empower our people, those who believe in it, just like people in any spiritual circle. And I would like the young Hmong in particular, who seem to think that this sacrificing of animal is something abhorrent in this modern society. It might be true. But don't look at it just on the surface, at that superficial level. Look at the psychological benefit that you can derive from, not just for the sick person, but for the family, as I keep saying. This, to me, is the most important aspect of shamanism and animism, in that if we lose this power to stay together, to be bonded together, then we will lose our identity. We will lose the power to feel that we belong to a group, we belong to a family. So I'd like to emphasize that. And some of the problems that we have here in modern America is that, as the pie charts they have shown, people are exposed to other cultures and other ideas and might tend to lose belief in their own traditional religion, and might not believe in animism anymore, might see animism as primitive. But I think that modern medicine doesn't have a cure for everything, and therefore there will always be people who will continue to believe in the power of animism or in shamanism. The other problem here is that the changing belief among our young people is caused by the fact that there has not been enough concerted effort by our parents, by the older first generation, to really teach the young to understand their religion, to understand shamanism, to understand why they are doing what the parents are doing. The parents tend to be very blasé, very complacent, and just practice, just do things without really explaining the meaning, without really explaining the procedures to the young people, without, and more importantly, without involving the young people in these activities. There is a need for us to become more involved, to participate more in these religious and shamanic activities, even just as helpers. Because we are not shamans, it doesn't mean that we don't have to be there, we don't have to help. If we help, we become more involved, we will have a better understanding of shamanism. And I think that the parents as well as the younger people need to really have better communication with each other about this, and as I said, a more concerted effort to teach the young people is called for. The other thing is that there is, in modern Western society, there is too much demand on our time and energy, and therefore, a lot of young people, as well as older people, find it difficult to be involved. But if we value our community, if we value the fact that we need to feel belong, then we should not just look on. We need to be really to really participate and to really learn. And I think that a lot of Hmong groups in different parts of America have tried to do this by setting up cultural groups and to teach Hmong culture and to teach Hmong religion to the young people. And there is a need for us to do this in nearly every city where there are Hmong people, so that we can at least make our young people understand what the older people are doing. And I just want to stop there, and I'd be happy later on to perhaps answer questions, but I think I said enough what I want to say. Thank you.
OK，我ภาษาอังกฤษแล้วก็ไอ้เจ้าที่เจ้าก็ตุนสาวตุนสายลุง
Okay, because my English is not as clear as I like them to be, so you would understand me completely. So I like my daughter to interpret for me.
วันนี้กูอยากให้มึงมาทว่าโจทย์ว่าดักเตอร์เอเลฟที่เราต้องเกี่ยงคือเมื่อตัวจะ information จะรู้จักจังยังเราติดเตี้ยด้วยก็ยังมันเกินกว่าจะยังจังเกินกว่าเลย
Before I start, I would like to thank Dr. Gary and also Dr. Felipe because the information that they have given you are all facts, and everything that they have a lecture on are all very true and accurate.
กูอยากให้เขาปีที่เขาสอนละสิ
So I'm going to not going to repeat everything again. I'm going to start with the beginning, and I'm going to end at the end.
เขาปีบริจาคมุ่งที่วันนั้นวิยาเดียเต่าอู้เหยื่อโซ่chỉ nâng thay đổi tiền nhau can tu nó chỉ mua mò chỉ mua tua chỉ mua đa chỉ mua chỉ rồi.
So, how did we become a shaman? How did Hmong shaman exist? A long time ago, God created the earth, God created people, created with no evil, no health problems, no concerns, no bad spirits. Everything was perfect.
Dư nhu giờ số tụi tôi lo và Giêsu giờ số tụi tôi ra sĩ gì giờ số tụi tôi giờ.
So it starts like this. Satan was God's oldest son. Jesus
Tụi tôi ra.
was the middle son, and Shi was the youngest son.
Giêsu dư nhu giờ tụi rõ lúc trong và thế rõ chỉ để trả sự.
Satan was the guarding, kind of like the guardian angel that guards the gate of heaven.
Giêsu giờ tụi nhà nó cờ không có chẳng ai thế lại tự.
Jesus went on and learned how to heal and went and learned how to cure the over physical body parts.
Sĩ gì giờ tụ khó sáng tụ bì thiên rõ đá sĩ tụ thiên để đá.
Shi Yi was the one that went and had the power of the spirit world and heals the inside and communicates with the other cross of the world.
Dư nhu mỗi nô chuyện dư nhu khi lúc họ trông về cam mong kinh nhóc còn tu bông ở trong tiệt tê nó thì đang cái nhau tiệt tê nó rồi.
So one day, Saint opened the gate of heaven way out in the universe and let all of the evil spirits, let all of the bad health and all of the things that are not meant to come to earth, and they came down.
Tiệt tê này mua mò tiệt mua tua lời trong hàng.
Because a lot of people on earth had suffered pain and bad health and died. Many died.
Giờ sau thì hai trâu sĩ gì hay tiệt cỏ sĩ gì ngày lon tiệt tê nó chở tin nâng thế là nhà nó thái đa ấy tuổi đa số nó tin nâng gì.
So God sent Shi Yi down to earth to help cure the sick and help the fight with the enemies of the evil spirit world and help save many of the illness that has been going on around in people's soul.
Sĩ gì là con luôn tiệt tê nó tàu bê chồng tiệt tê chỉ mua plo chỉ mua tuổi rồi.
Shi Yi came down to earth for 3 years, and he ended everybody's. He helped cured, and he ended a lot of death.
Sĩ gì mỗi tụ tu nhau luôn tiệt tê nó.
Shi Yi had a son that was living here on earth.
Dư nhu hai trâu sĩ gì hay tiệt có sĩ gì đó là con tu em một tuổi tuổi nhu nó cho sĩ gì mà lon tiệt tê nó.
Satan told Shi Yi to go up back to heaven and first kill a cow and celebrate before he comes back to earth.
Thấu một do số con tu chế dư nhu hai thì sĩ gì chế có tua tu nhu.
When he went back up to the universe up in heaven, Saint says, Shi Yi, you kill the cow.
Thấu sĩ gì mua trả tổ sáu là tua tu nhu tua chế sĩ gì tu muốn giờ. Hai đó sĩ gì hai thì sĩ gì có tua tu nhu nhỏ con tu nó chế địa tê có tu tua lại.
But it was actually a trick because Saint was jealous of what Shi Yi had. So Saint told Shi Yi to use his axe to kill the cow. Shi Yi took his axe and killed the cow, and the cow died. His younger sister then said to Shi Yi, "What have you done? Did you know that if you take your axe and kill this cow, you killed your son on earth?"
Chế sĩ gì sai chế sĩ tu nhân địa tê nó tua chế sĩ gì cái lò chế sĩ gì cả nhà nó và luôn chuột nó thế sĩ gì cả tu cừ nó sĩ gì cả tu của nó thế sĩ gì cả cho chú nó lò ta sĩ lò kho cha sĩ tu chỉ sợ là cho kho sĩ gì cả hư hùa lò địa tê nó là sĩ mang.
Shi Yi was so disappointed and upset. He looked down on earth and his son was really dead. He brought with him immediately from heaven down to earth the gong, the bells, the split horns with his bag and down to earth to rescue his son and to bring him back to life. But nothing.
Chế sĩ gì lò kho cha chỉ tao sĩ tu chế sĩ hai nó địa tê nâng hạt thì nên nhỏ của mù cao của hư có một chỗ cho của một đặc cá chi nu nên ở đây chỉ là ở tàu nu trâu mà của lò nu trâu chỉ lò mà nu xa của lò giờ lên nó nâng tê thì nu trâu chỉ thì chỉ chịu hậu lửa nu xa thì nhỏ tỏ chứ chỉ bộ lò chỉ nu nhà nó nu san để biết chịu hậu lửa.
So when he came down, he was so in a rush, he forgot to bring the potion, which is a magic potion used to drink to survive and cure everything and to live again. Well, at the time he came down, nothing happened after the 3 days. He then said to the people on earth, "I'm going back up to heaven. I will return on the 6th day. If I do not return on the 6th day, I will return on the 7th day." So he went on the 6th day. Everybody on earth waited, no return. On the 7th day, everybody sat and waited, no return. That's why we have Saturday and Sunday.
Chế sĩ gì nhà nó mua sọ con tu chế sĩ chỉ lò rồi chế địa tê thì hai đồ giờ số thì giờ số ở nhà sĩ chỉ lò cho sĩ tu rồi sĩ tu lừa bây ở nhà.
So then earth people waited and waited. They sent messages back to God and said, "It's been past the 7th day. We waited for him and we did not go to work. He did not return. His son has already run and died. What should we do?"
Chỉ giờ số thì hai đồ nâng tê thì quốc kia đồ này tàu kế quốc kia đồ này chua canh quốc kia đồ này hai chỉ sai anh này sa sĩ tu đó tu một con tu sư.
So then God told the people on earth, "I will teach you how to do chanting. I will teach you how to perform the funeral. I will teach you how to send his soul back up to heaven."
Chỉ sĩ chuyện cái tê lợ chỉ giờ số thì hai đồ sĩ thì sĩ gì giờ có chỉ chọn tê lợ chúng mình lên từ khó luôn tê vậy tê mua một tuổi hành đa là cũng mua nhà nó cái mò kiện nó bông tán tê một tuổi hành giờ đi nó có một cái tuồng can nâng chỉ có sĩ gì mua sĩ tuồng can nâng nó cầu cho nhà nó cho tụ hóa tài nâng mà nhau cho lui nhìn tụ chuyên sang sẽ nhìn sang chùa chỉ tụ nó mà lên mong cầu là một trò cầu gì xem mong nó ít sang nó mà mới thuộc làm nhà nó xin nâng nhau số cầu đâu tụ đó mong cầu là trong tê nó lo cha lên từ là chỉ nhìn nâng từ chỉ tụ nó có to mua mò mong kinh tụi nó tàu tranh tụi nó tàu khởi si cho nên nó trong uai mà chở đi tên này.
Okay, Dad, I'm not a tape recorder. All right, I'm going to try to remember everything he said. After 3 days, the people waited. After 7 days, they waited. She did not return. So the people on earth went and told God. After the ceremony, after the funeral, they sent his spirit back up to heaven. God then said to Shi Yi, if you do not return to earth and save the people and cure the people on earth, there will be many, many people that will suffer illness and will have evil spirits in them, and they will die. Nobody will be on earth to cure them and to help them. If you do not return back to earth, then you need to send your bamboo archway to the way out to the universe of these 7 domino stones, 8 rocky mountains way above, and give to the Shamanism king, who is control of all of the shaman all throughout the world. He took his bamboo archway and threw up into the universe where the 7 dominoes of stones and the 8 rocky mountains where the king of shamanism was.
Chỉ bông một rồi gì nâng tư, chỉ gì nâng nữa tàu ở nhà nó uất nâng, tàu một con để tên nâng, chỉ gì nó bé uo, chỉ bé thì đi uo, luôn uo nó, giờ tàu thứ bé giờ uất nâng, tàu nâng mua mò, muốn chỉ tham mẫu chỉ rong, lúc ba đi là rong, đã chỉ là rong, để xin nó mò tại do, chỉ giờ tỷ, nếu tụ ru tụ pli, chỉ nhau buồn nuôi chỉ là chỉ tàu uất nâng một con nữa thì rong.
Every clan will be given a special gift. The bamboo archway will be thrown from the king of shamanism, from the universe down to that clan member. The clan will be gifted as a chosen one. The chosen one in the spirit world will be the one who will become a shaman. When a person is ill and sick, the gong is used. My dad don't perform, but I like to perform. The gong is used to call the spirit world and to let them know that the shaman is on its way and needs their help.
Tàu hu tàu ta nữa là chỉ bao thì giờ tụi nâng đó yo tụi pli nó một chỗ khó từ là bé chỉ bao hay thì nó một chỗ tao già rồi một chỗ cái từ nên chai bông pli rồi khó từ là bé chỉ baoแต่ชีทนน้อยตัวมดเนี่ยนอจืกว่าน้อเจ้าหลอกเคลียเจ้าหลอกเต่าเช่ตัวปลีนมันตัวก็ตื่นเลยมาเลยมันเช่ตัวปลีนเจ้าหลอก
Once the gong is called to the spirit world, and the spirit world knows that the shaman needs help to look for the spirit, but we don't know where the spirit is located or where the soul has been. So we use the split horns to locate and to chant on it. And the split horn will point and will lead the way to where the soul or the spirit has been gone to.
Thầu bé bố lên đó ta là chỉ có tôi mua sập phổ nó ít sập phổ là cứอยู่รุ่นใจมัวnóไอ้ก่ออยู่เนี่ยnó concentrate เราสักได้หนูนะซื้อไอ้ก่ออยู่จอตรงเดียวตัวปลีมันตัวก็ตื่นเลยก้อนตอนนั้นกูหนูมันไปไอ้ที่หลอกตะก้าหลอก
Once we know where the spirit is at or where the soul is located, we take the veil and we put this over our head. I'll show you too. Like this. And this is how we will concentrate and lead and go into the other world.
Lúc trước là giờ lúc trước nhà một cha có tụi pli sợ tắc cá chỉ xong một bự tiếc khó con trai rồi giờ chỉ xong một bự tại lúc khó tua.
It's Christmas, but this is not for a jingle bell. No, he didn't say that. I said that. This is the bell that we use to shake and wake the spirits and bring the spirit and the soul back to the person who is ill.
Giờ thầu tụi nên mò nhà hàng bông lột ra cái tua, thầu nó tụi nên yêu chỗ lúc trước nó chăm bỏ. Giờ thì có bỏ bây giờ lử, giờ tụi lúc trước nó sao ở tại nó chỉ cho sầu nó li khơi nó sư chỉ tụ chỉ cho rồi cái tụ bỏ bê rồi sư cái chỉ cha bê rồi rồi giờ thì rút bỏ sa tự tại nó tua sầu chỉ tụ nó vô trọ giờ khơi ta cho nó sư chỉ tụ nó chỉ cho rồi tụ nâng nó chủ tua bài sư.
When a person is very ill, especially when they become very critical, we'll know as a shaman, I will know if that person will be able to live or not. Even when they're sick, I will throw this bell 3 times. I am only allowed to throw 3 times. On this bell, there are 2 sides. One is very clear, the other side has a design on it, and there's a marking. If I throw it up 3 times and it shows me the clear side, I know that the spirit and the soul in that person has gone. It will not return, and the person will die. It will not get well. But if the other side turns, and if I throw, it flips and tells me, I know that that person will be okay.
Cho xa nó thế bộ cho tự nó giống ý cho nhia thầu từ có mới cho bùa là cho cái cho một tua cái tôi mới cho nhia rồi lại cho một non một hồ ý trong có alo lì rồi có alo lì nó cái tôi than nếu một trò cho trên nó một thằng tia giờ có chỉ trò cho trên nó chỉ tàu theo có thầu rồi cho trên nó theo.
We sacrifice animal for not just sacrificing them and killing them. The paper you see that I hold here and the incense that I have here, these are paper money that when we sacrifice an animal, we give this to the animal. The animal goes and travel along the way to the spirit world for 1 year. The money will help the animal buy food and accommodate them along the way through that 1 year. When the time is up, we will go and release the animal's spirit and have that animal reincarnate to a new animal.
Đã tiền nó vậy đã tiền nhưng tiền tên nó một đa hành đa là cũng nọ tin thằng thế đã tiền hay đã tiền lo một kỹ đa thải đa thầu tụi này uốn năng nếu muốn tụi nó giả uốn sẽ là tỷ đa rồi đã tiền nó tụi đa là một kỹ tụi mò cái chất tụi đa phiền là sao là tỷ tụi mò như thì dùng tàu.
This is a sword that is used in this on earth. There's a lot of evil spirits that surrounds you or comes in possession of you. This is the sword that divides and separates the evil spirits so that they don't come to you. This is the only one that would be able to divide and cut and separate from the evil world and the evil spirit onto the human and nature of the good spirit world.
Cầu sông đó nó mấy tụi phong yêu mấy cá nhớ tao Appleton nếu muốn uống gì nếu bỏ tụi bé ra một chỗ mấy tụi mấy cá tụi bông một tua là hồ rồi nếu trút tụi mấy cá lọ nếu cha hay của nó bông pli nếu muốn chi tham mỏ tiền nữa tua xứ của nó là muốn chi mông mà lên muốn cái tụi theo lúc kề mà cho tụi một cá một nhau sụp bẹt đê mà cá lúc kề một hu tụi pli hu chúng có lúc kề đi to kề lọ tụi tin nó lo chỉ tụi mấy cá trong rồi tụi mấy cá tiền nô tụi này trả cá thì chúng lo chỉ của trò theo của chỉ nhau trả anh chỉ chúng mình hu pli của tua rồi.
We had a friend, and this is a real true story, of an American fellow who was a friend of one of my colleagues. He lives in Alberton. One day he went fishing. He threw his bait into the river. He did not know that a person was murdered and was there in the river. He pulled, and he kept pulling, and suddenly the body came out. He went into panic, and he was shocked. His spirit at that time went immediately away. He got so sick, they did not know what to do with him. He went to every physician. They said he's going to die. He did not have a chance to live. He came across a monk shaman. He said, I will cure you. I will help you. The shaman took a duck and an egg. With the duck and an egg, went to the river and had the duck call the soul and the spirit back. The egg rolled back with the duck down onto the river bank. Since that day on, he felt better, he became better, and he's healthy. He appreciated how shaman has helped him live when everybody else told him he was going to die. He said, if one day, if the monk return back to Laos, I will go with you because then no one will call my spirit back and be with me.
Kêu anh anh trên lò sầu lên lò sư khó luôn ra chị đã từng kể theo và nó thấy nên có thứ hay là chị như tranh thì người nơi chị cho chơi nó ngay theo automo mà giờ kiến chừng là sư thâu tiệt giờ số chỉ năng nhau tên nó chỉ mong sư chị mong mấy cho nên lo đu thổ này bỏ thì mỗi tuần bị phút bây giờ này bỏ nhà khổng nhau tê tê khâu lò thâu tiệt này mong để chi mong bố tới tuần chiều cả chỉ mong về chuẩn tu chỉ ta nói thì tên mong tuần về chỉ một chuẩn tu rồi chỉ giờ số thì nếu chỉ tao có nên chủ trò sư là chỉ mong chỉ tròเลยchỉ số thì giờ nên chỉ trò chỉ củaตัวtuần chiều cả nó cả đả khu sốตัวcả đả nên mong đó thì tê chỉ nên em uốn tao hai năng rồi nên chỉ dội cho mong là sư vì tiền ôi hai năng sư mà hai lù chỉ sơ lù chìm nông rồi chỉ nhuông chỉ mong uốn tao tao hai năng nhau can tu nó không lợ giờ thì có nên hai lù có chỉ bao cú chỉ bao có cú haiตัวmu ít hai chân chân lo ít có ít hai chân thì có ra là bao nhiêu nó chỉ giờ số thì haiตัวso chỉ soตัวchứว่าcả đã thông liệt tê chỉ nên bông trời bơi có từ chỉ nhiều nhiều ít hai nâng nhiều hai nhà lù có dùng có giả cũng có giả chỉ nhiều nó biết thì dùng nó là
Okay. I guess as a shaman, I talk about my role and my responsibilities, and I can continue on, but it'll probably be forever, which Dr. Gary and also Dr. Felipe has already mentioned a lot and have given you so much information. But you know, how did we ever come to be able to be here in this room with different cultures, different religion, and different languages? And how did we all become so different? It's because a long time ago, God created Hmong people. There was only like Hmong on earth or Hmong in the universe. They built a real high ladder up into heaven. One thing they did not follow God's rule was they're not supposed to be climbing up that ladder all the time to heaven. God said, you can't do that. You have to stay on earth. They didn't listen to God. So God told the lightning God, and the lightning God strike the ladder. The ladder broke into many pieces. Ladder went in all directions, and it became, the ladder will then split and become many different languages, many different people with different languages and different cultures. This way, if I tell you to do something, and if I tell you to follow something and you don't, another culture will go on and teach you and have you, and you will listen to them. And there will be peace, and there will be love, and there will be people who will understand each other and accept each other for who they are. Thank you.
Well, thank you all so very much. This has been absolutely extraordinary, and what an opportunity for all of us to learn about shamanism and the practices. I think as we get ready here for some discussion, I'd like to give an opportunity to the panelists just to see if they have any questions that they would like to direct to one of their fellow members.
But I just have a comment. I just want to applaud you for a great work and study that you did. I love everything Dr. Felipe said about the different shamanism and how gifted it was. Just my childhood, seeing my dad as a shaman throughout my entire life, and now as becoming a new shaman gifted, I am very grateful to have people to take the time and the commitment to learn about our culture and how important shamanism is. And that's, I'm sad to see that the Hmong people and students don't take that opportunity to learn what a beautiful and rich culture and religion they have, but then to see another culture learn it. And hearing my dad's story, it's amazing. So thank you for being here with us.
Thank you. Okay, let's open up the discussion here to the audience and see who may have some questions or comments. And we do have someone here to help right back there, please.
I'm wondering what the role is of the shaman during the extended funeral rites, or if what your ritual is during the funeral rites.
The shaman does not take part of the funeral ceremony and does not have a role in part in the funeral.
Yeah, just to add that the shaman is purely for healing, and funeral is not doesn't involve healing, so he has no part in it.
Right here.
Can women become shamans?
Panya upato itu sineng. Yes, I'm one of them as well too.
If we could use the mic, this program is being taped for cable broadcast and for other purposes as well, so if we can have everybody speak into the mic, that'll help.
Yeah, I may have a couple questions. One would be, if you go to spirit world, could it be dangerous for you? Could your soul be lost in the spirit world?
It's very, at that time, it is a very dangerous stage because you have to remember at the moment, especially when you go across many spirits that are evil and that are completely gone, your body tends to be very light, and you you shake you shiver. Actually, you shiver inside of your heart as very cold. However, when you come back to the real world, as to the human world, you have to remember to call your spirit back with you and bring them with you. Otherwise, if you do not bring them, if you do not call them, then yes, you could completely die at the time or in the moment you're doing your ceremony. That's why when a shaman practices or doing his or her chanting, there has to be guards. Family members will be guarding the shaman table and watch you and be very careful each of the steps as you go along the way.
Yeah, just to add that it's very important for a shaman to have an assistant. An assistant is not a shaman, but merely just assist during the procedure with incense burning or paper money burning, and also to make sure that the shaman doesn't fall from his bench on which he's jumping up and down. Should he fall and the assistant is not taking good care of him and he fall, then his spirit will not be able to return to earth, and he will become sick and die.
May I add something to that too? Correct me or add to it, clarify it. It's my understanding that the Hmong shaman is essentially a warrior going into battle, and that the bench is a horse, and the shaman carries a sword such as you have, and is really going to do battle with the evil spirits. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Now, as I understand it, the person has a couple souls or 3 souls, right? According to monk
Này thì
theory.
mong nhớ đọc mong đan nên là giờ lịch mong này bây mua li bây tu chụp pli là giờ bây tu pli bây giờ.
bé tụi chú đua dạ tụi chú pli
3 souls and 7 spirits.
Well, I may ask what's the difference between souls and spirit.
Này thì chú đó thì chụp pli giờ thì giờ.
nhà nó chú pli nó chỉ dạ tụi chú pli ở chú pli cơn bầu số họ chú đua nó chỉ dạ tụi giờ có tụi chú đua họ cọ vào tàu nọ tàu họ có cứ nọ là tàu tụi nó coi chỉ câu dạ từ là tàu dạ từ câu nọ chứ là tàu quả chỉ là ba cọ quả chỉ là số sinh tế ba cọ.
Spirits are like they're with you, they guide you, like when you're sleeping and you dream. And wherever you dream about, it's not you there, it's your spirit that is there. Your soul, my dad talks about, I think there's not even a translation for this. It's not completely a soul too, but it's part of your soul that is with you, that brings you fortune, that is with you, that you carry on, you have with your family. It lines you up, it gives you the motivation, the confidence, and the inner strength to move on.
Can you connect the soul to energy entity? Would you think that the spirits are energy entities?
Cái pasad để yêu tuân chụp lên đó nó tê cái và yêu li nó mua lúa giò và yêu mua cho là chuồn thôi yêu là tàu yêu cho là buôn thôi yêu là tàu.
Dạ tụi nó là câu cái tàu cho chân nó.
They are energy that need to be with you in you so that you can accomplish what you need to do.
Now, when person dies, the energy goes somewhere, right? So in the process, a shaman doesn't help to relieve the soul of the person to go to upper or spirit world.
Thọ itu nên tu là ta chỉ nửa tu chụp ly là vậy nửa tu đuôn xong chín đó nửa là nửa bùa mù đó là khó là vậy mua sàn nửa mù đó họ nhóc họ tên là.
Mấy tu chỉ nửa nhóc tao cũng già, họ mấy tu chỉ nửa gì đó u chỉ nửa đó thời tiết rồi tiết tây nó tu năng.
One stays at the cemetery where the body is laid. The other one goes up to heaven and reincarnates and comes back to earth to become whatever it is. The other one stays at the cemetery, at the burial of the body for life, where the body lays. That's why sometimes you see ghosts, because that's the one that stays with the body. That's the ghost of the spirit.
But then if it stays with body, then what happens when the new person is born? Then it has just one soul, or again, there must be some extra soul coming to the body? Or?
When the soul, the spirits reincarnates and becomes a human or becomes whatever it becomes, they have their own gifted soul. They have their own. They have a new soul, a new spirit that comes with them as well too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Watch out.
JD?
Does a shaman encounter spirits who have a sense of humor, who play tricks?
No.
Can I ask a question about which Dr. Gary Lee kind of entered into the discussion about the relationship between modern medicine and shamanism and the openness of healthcare facilities to the practice of shamanism, that is, so that one might be combining the best of modern medicine alongside the traditional practices. Could you comment a little bit on that?
Yes, I think that being done at Eau Claire, where a doctor in a hospital called on a shaman to go and do not a full trance, but some small healing ceremony on a sick patient. And I think that this indicates the openness of modern medicine to alternative practices, particularly in case of injury and bones, people breaking bones. The shaman might also be able to heal using special formula, and this has happened also in hospitals. So I think that some doctors are now more acceptable and become more broad-minded about the way in which shamans can help.
So just like ministers might be allowed visitation rights, obviously, in hospitals, so
Yes, some
shaman
hospitals do
can't
that,
Okay,
yes.
Good.
May I add something to that too? Worldwide, it's very, very common for shamans to believe that, say, Western medicine, pills and so forth can cure the symptoms of illness, but they can't actually cure the cause, or get rid of the cause, and that only shamanism can do that. So there's an openness to using what Western medicine has to offer, but a recognition that it's limited.
Other comments or questions from the audience? Yes?
Cú really bắt cũng nói thì có cháu khởi công mà mấy thì có sự kia sẽ thời yêu khởi công nữa này yêu khó tàu đã chỉ thì có khởi công nữa này có họ khởi công họ một khó lấy giá thì li ba tổ tiên hàng là bị chữ thì giờ li tết thầu tết thu nhiều giờ nữa khẩn chỉ lon trà đến nữa lo khởi công từ ba tàu này vậy hả có sự kia mấy sẽ khởi công lấy giá họ ba tàu cho từ nhiều nữa khẩn chỉ lon trà. Sorry, can you translate it to English?
Okay. I heard that not only you have the skill of a shamanism, but also that you also know how to do special healings, such as special black magic. I'm
It's
sorry.
not- sorry.
It's not black magic.
It's not black magic and it's not witchcraft. So I
Yeah.
want us to stay away from these two words.
Yeah, clarify.
It's a healing formula.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. We call it black magic in the understanding of a way of healing through chanting, but healing, like Dr. Lee said, is also a new term that the new refugees and the new youth are using nowadays. So, could you explain a little bit about how your healing helps with, such as when a child has a bleeding nose and you heal to stop it, or other forms of healings that you have done in the past? Could you explain that a little?
Anh ấy chỉ tao tên OK แต่เขาว่าว่าคือ公的时候就เขาว่า节奏不乱查的 OK raคือ公的嘛你要录选着录梦的也ก็raคือ公的จะนมูเจียจันชานี่ก็จันชาจิตสลอ也ก็ตัวนึงเลยที่เรียกว่าอย่างน้อยที่จิจมัวที่จิว也ก็จะว่าคือ公bây giờ cơ công của rong lăng chạp là chỉ cơ công phong trá là đâu cơ công của mình ở dầu của công để rủ họ lúc xưa là chỉ câu để cơ công là trà cái cho nhà nó cho nhà nó khuôn rồi còn nó chửi đã cả rồi chứ ngày tới chỉ tuần này chủ rong còn nó khoảng càng chỉ bé uốn này thì lòng trâu họ và tí bắt sạt đà thế nào là bé uốn là nửa bỏ nửa ba thế này bé như bỏ uốn tàu chỉ như rong còn là mà
some of the healings, especially when I'm using verbal healings to cure, such as a child with chickenpox, to prevent the chickenpox or to slow down the chickenpox. I have done that many times. With the chanting, it's not only the Hmong words, but it also have Chinese words in it too. you have to chant that into your healing to stop the blood, especially when there's a cut or a bleeding nose, to stop the cut, to stop the blood from bleeding more, and especially with broken bones, to heal the broken bones so that the bones would heal quicker and better.
Can anyone learn this chant, or do you have to be possessed by your spirits?
Từ này linh tư yo cơ khờ công yin tàu theo lò yo chủ yo yào lời sai theo tu cho lo.
No, không tên là bạn thì cỡ tôi tao nhưng còn
Chanting is something anybody can learn. Is just if you like to learn, you can learn.
Ocho.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? We have one right down here.
Thank you. Could you say a little bit more about the difference between the souls and spirit?
Yes, I just tried the best way I can to, based on his earlier answer, but also based on my research. And there's a difference between a soul and a spirit. The soul is the one that stays with you and that reinforce your health. Keep you in balanced health, balance your health so that you don't get sick and so on. And the spirit is more like what he said earlier, like the ghost part of your soul. I mean, they are like soul, but they be the one that become ghosts after you die. Whereas the soul are the one that go to the ancestors and become reincarnated, or that stay at the graveside with your body. Different shamans explain it differently. Some say that the soul that stays at the graveside is the one that is released to become reincarnated. That's why the monk have a soul release ceremony after the 13 days after the burial of the body. So that the soul or the spirit that stay at the graveside is not condemned to stay there forever and become a ghost. Then they have to release it through this soul release ceremony so that it will go away from the grave and become reincarnated. And that the soul that go to heaven, go to the ancestors, stay with the ancestors. Some shamans explain it this way. Others explain, as Mr. Roger said there, that it's the soul that go to heaven that become reincarnated. So it's not very clear as to which one become reincarnated and how many we actually do have, whether it's 2 or 3, and whether we have 7 spirits, as he said earlier. But the spirits are the ghostly soul, as it were, the soul that become ghosts. And that you see as ghosts, as spirits, and the soul are the one that don't bother people, but just quietly go to heaven or go to become reincarnated. And these 2 kinds of soul and spirits need to stay with the body for the body to be in good health while the person is alive. That's the general concept.
Could I ask one question that takes into account Professor Lippy's slides? Is there any worry that, given the fact that one can't apply to be a shaman, I mean that it's something that happens to you, the calling occurs, is that there could be a time when there would be an insufficient number of shamans? Is that a worry or not?
nè ia li bata doctor le bi cho do ti e jong li mong ke da ke khon bu cho do ju na khana pe kha se sang le khana pe kha trái pe te jo kha ti mua cho ji nen jong thong na wo ne de cha ti chỉ mua li la pe kha se
nhà nhà tới trường hợp nếu mua cho chia thôi thế chả cũ đây chia thì mình chơi rồi cũ
In America now, it's changing, yes, and there will be the new shamans, but there will be less of them.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just add something
Yes,
to
sure.
that? This is a natural attraction due to migration, as with many other religious and cultural practices with other groups as well. And also with modernization, there will probably be fewer people interested or called about to become shaman. But so we're going to have fewer shamans in the future. But what we have done in Australia is that because we only have 2,000 monks there and even fewer shamans, we have got special allowance by the government for us to sponsor out shamans from Laos and from Thailand to serve the community, to come out with their family as community specialists. And that has happened. That might be one way of addressing the problem.
Yeah, that's good.
I also would like to add that as myself, a new shaman, I've been sick for 5 years, and I was diagnosed last year that I had my dad's gift, although I have more shaman, Shi Yi side of the power. However, I guess because I'm in the society that I'm a mother, I'm a businesswoman, it's so hard to practice and to take on the responsibilities to go throughout the community and heal them as well. So when we are fear of having less shaman in America because of timing, because of all of the chanting we have to learn, because of entering the spirit world, we don't know how it would be. So with all of those fears, I am slow at it. I have been a shaman for a year now, but I have only learned one chant, which if I were in Laos, I would probably been healing the community already. I would been going around and or been calling to heal, but it's very hard here. So a lot of the people, when they are called upon or they are the chosen one to be a shaman, they choose not to accept that responsibility. They choose to deny it and move on to Christianity, and they sent all of their powers and all of their gift back up to the universe of where Master Shi Yi and the Master of Shamanism is, and that they can throw the bamboo archway to another family or to another clan so that that clan can become a shaman.
Good, thank you very much. And we have a question down here in the front too. Oh, back in the back first, okay, and then we'll come back down.
I know that people come to you as a mediator to the spirit world. People come to you to reckon or settle with the spirits. Does it ever happen the other way around? Do the spirits come to you to talk to people or to get things done?
Anh chỉ mua cái chỗ con cho nên mình đặt ai dùng chỉ tại nữa sao tụi phi là tôi làm được gì tại lên nữa sao chỉ có chỗ đá rồi tao phải coi nó mua thì họ đá mà nên vừa nhẹ sao chỉ có thì bộ đánh nhẹ rồi còn nó mua chỉ mua nhẹ rồi là tại vì nó mua nó chỉ bán là trên nữa liền.
No, not really. They don't come to me to seek anybody else. But if I am in the spirit world, often some spirits especially evil spirits, will ask for money, or if I don't give them that money, or if I don't give them what they ask for, then they will harm the soul or the spirit of another person. And then at that moment, I will then communicate with them and decide what to do.
Can I just add a little bit to that? The process of communication between the spirits and the living is always through making a person sick. And then the sick person's family will call on a shaman to identify the cause of the sickness. So the spirit never come directly to the shaman, but always through a sick person. Okay?
Good, thank you. Let's have one more question here. Another one back here? Okay.
Yes, I'm aware of putting bands or strings on the wrist, and I'm wondering, yes, I noticed yours, wondering when they're put on or why they're put on and what the deciding factor is for taking them off.
Khi nó mà nhớ thì tụi này nó mò nè, chỉ bé tụi mù phun người ta hầu rồi thì còn người tụi pli đó là buôn nó chỉ còn chỉ sống mò, bây giờ mấy tụi nhu cho hồn tụi pli, hồn lúa dừa hồn này thì cứ thế này trả tua khi nó tệ còn nó dùng xia còn tụi pli đó còn nó dùng chỉ ta hồn khi tái pli nó mất đời là chúa nhà.
The string is tied on. It depends on the occasion and how it's. It could be one person, the shaman, doing it, or it can be a member of the family. When a person is ill and the shaman comes over and calls the spirit back or takes away the evil spirits, he ties the string on to protect that person's spirit. And everybody would tie a string on to give that person a blessing of health, of good health, and that the spirit will stay with that person so that that person can be able to achieve and accomplish what he or she needs to do. Once after they tie the string on to the person can remove that string and at any given time, and it's okay.
Yeah. I just add that that's in case of a sick person, but in case of a well person like myself, people would, your family and close relatives will do a hand wrist tying ceremony for you if you're about to undertake a journey, so that you will have a safe journey. Yeah. As I'm about to go back to Australia. So I had a lot of these ceremonies.
And just to clarify on that, when you see a string, by looking at the colors, it can symbols, you will know. Especially if you see all white, like Dr. Gary has it on, it's more of a blessing for him, for health, for protection, and for going home safely, being very happy, success, and all of that. If you see a string with like red, white, black, these are the three colors that combine together to protect evil and to cure a sick person. So if you see only white string, then it's mostly used for blessing. But if you see the string with different colors, especially red and black, these are the colors that to protect evil and cure and call the soul and the spirit back into the body.
Okay. All right. I think what we ought to do here is to end the program, but to continue the conversation in the terrace room. I don't think we could have had a more outstanding panel than what we had this evening, and we thank all of you so much for participating. This has been really incredible and extraordinarily informative. Let's give our panelists a round of applause. Thank you very much. Thank all of you for coming. We'll see you in the terrace room.